meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement. The August 9th, 2017 meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is charged with conducting hearings to determine whether an alleged violation of the city code has occurred. Decisions made by the quasi-judicial board will be based on evidence and facts presented tonight. Our meetings are conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, and each case will begin with the city presenting its evidence with the alleged violation. The respondent will then present his or her case. Both parties will have an opportunity to cross and examine all witnesses. The board members may question any witness. Comments by both parties must be relevant to the case. Persons wishing to speak will be given the opportunity to do so by the chair and must address the board from the podium after giving their name and address. Upon request, copies of materials submitted by the staff are available for review. Board members are reminded to obtain permission to speak from the chair, and questions of the city shall be directed to the attorney for the city. At this time, I will ask all persons who expect to give testimony tonight to stand and be sworn in by the Deputy City Clerk.
Please raise your right hand if you plan to speak at all. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony or evidence you're about to give or present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Cases will be taken out of order to accommodate respondents and witnesses present here at the meeting. Before we start, I just have a few things to say. Our Code Enforcement Director, Joe Damian, resigned, and his last day was Friday, August 4th. And Sal Scaroso retired, and his last day was August 4th. And tonight, Tom Baroni is here as interim director of the Code Enforcement Board and will be presenting each of the 9 cases. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Kristen. Oh, sorry about that. Well, let's go ahead and do the minutes. Have all board members received the minutes of the July 12th, 2017 meeting? Are there any corrections or additions to these minutes? If the minutes are acceptable, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion by Mr. Lloyd and second by Mr. Newkirk. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, none. Okay, Kristen?
And before the board starts, I just have a few announcements from the city attorney's position with respect to the agenda. There have been several revisions to the agenda, so I just wanted to announce those at the outset. I think it'll be more efficient as we go forward. With respect to the first case, case number 17-1137, the very first citation is the local business tax required. That is going to be pulled. That is more properly cited under the citation program. So that case is just the only violation that we're going to be presenting before the board is the second violation, which is the sign permit violation. We are pulling a number of cases too. The first case is the second to the last case on the first page, which is case number 17-1415. The second case we're pulling is the very next case, the last case on the first page, which is case number 17-1430. And we're also pulling the last two cases on the agenda. Case number 17-1472, the City versus Scott Waters. That case is being pulled, but we do have an update for the board when we get to unfinished business. That, as the board may recall, is the case with the fence, where there was a temporary orange plastic fence that was erected. And the last case is being pulled, which is the City versus BB&T. That's case number 17-1536. I also have some updates for the board with respect to subsection E, other board action. We were contacted by the property owner for the lien reduction petition. They've withdrawn their petition. So the lien reduction will not be heard this evening. And with respect to the amnesty program application, that application has been deemed denied by the code enforcement. The property is not in compliance, so it was inadvertently included on this agenda, but it does not need to be considered by the board. It's already been denied by the city. So with that, I can turn it over to Kristen, and we can move forward.
The first case on the agenda will be case number 17-1137, the City versus Shah Jahan Properties LLC for property located at 12635 North 56th Street. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of Section 12979A, permits required for signs. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Officer Baroni, Interim Director Baroni, and the city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
And have a nice rhythm to it. Good evening, Tom Baroni, Code Compliance. This case this evening originated by Community Development on May 22nd, 2017, when Building Inspector Amir Anisi notified Code Enforcement of a storefront sign installed without a required permit. A stop work order was issued by the Building Inspector Amir Anisi. That same day, Joe Damian visited the smoke shop and issued a door hanger with a reinspection date of May 30th, 2017. On June 14, 2017, Mr. Damian checked with Community Development to find out the status of the sign permit, there was no change. Therefore, Mr. Damian prepared a notice of violation on June 16th with a compliance date of June 24, 2017. He posted the notice at the store and sent copies both certified and first-class mail. He also requested a copy be posted at City Hall for the 10-day requirement. On July 26, 2017, a check with the building department noted no change. At this time, I would like to submit photographic evidence taken by Mr. Damian on August 3rd, 2017. Exhibit number 1 shows a non-permitted wall sign, and exhibit number 2 is a screenshot of the stop work order that I'd like to submit.
Board will accept.
A check with Community Development today noted no change to the sign permit, so the property remains out of compliance. Tonight, I believe the store owner is here and the property owner is here as well.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Baroni?
So basically, all they need to do is get a permit for the sign, a temporary permit, or is it just the sign is not in compliance at all?
That's correct. It needs a permit to install that type of sign on the building fascia,
Okay.
so.
Any other questions? Okay,
Sir, would you like
thank
to
you.
come up?
Please state your name and address.
Hi there. My name is Ali Amir. My address 4347 Ghana Highway, Tampa, Florida. I am the new owner for the Mystery Smoke Shop. I have the ID tags last week. I work at the paper. I'm almost done. Just I wait for the tobacco license. I have the store last month, and I have the ID tax from last month.
Okay, do you, I'm not quite clear on what you're saying, what you're telling me, so I'm gonna ask some questions. The building has been cited, whether you're the current owner or are you the previous owner, were you owner at the time of the citing?
No, I was not the owner over there, but I have the business last month, and I start do the ID tax from last month. The other owner was my dad before over there.
Okay, so you are then responsible for to get the permit for you're understanding that?
Yes, I understand.
What is your plan on that?
I waiting for the tobacco license. That's it. And I have all the paper. When I have the tobacco license, I will be done. I will have the tobacco license next week.
But the sign is through the city. It's a permit from the city. Have you met with the city to get the permit?
I tried to do the permit for the sign, but they told me after you have the tax from Tampa tourist, I can do the sign for the shop. I can do the permit.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Has the business ever been open?
The business is open now.
It's been open. When was the sign put up? By your dad or by you?
My dad,
Your dad?
yeah,
When did the business open?
open in May.
May?
Yeah, May.
Okay. Did you know that when you opened, you needed that sign, you needed a permit?
I don't know that.
You were not aware of that? Okay. And you said you spoke with the city, and they said that you need the tax ID before you can get the sign permit?
Yeah.
So the business did not have a tax ID when they opened?
I have the tax ID. I mean the tax from the Tomba tourist. I don't know. Like they ask for license. I did the license from the Hesbury County, and I have this paper for the city over here. But I need the tobacco license with this. Picture.
So let me go back. You have now, today, the tax license, the
Okay.
tobacco license.
No, I waiting. I need.
When are you going to get that, do you think?
I think next week for sure.
Okay. How long do you think that it will be before you can get the sign permit and get that?
Like
Correct.
20 days. All wait. I need just 20 days. That's it.
Okay.
I got a question for Director.
Mr. Stats?
This is for Director Baroni. Are we citing the big sign or the temporary grand opening sign? Or is it both? In the picture I saw there was two,
It's not the banner that you
not the
cited.
banner, the main
No.
sign itself?
Yes.
Okay,
And
okay.
there's electrical work that's involved there.
And that's been up for a long time?
Right.
Okay, that was it. Thanks. Just to kind of clarify, basically, the licenses that you're describing have nothing to do with the city permit. I think that's where the confusion is. That's where the problem has arisen here with why you're in front of us. It's not the business license, tobacco license, it's all, you needed a general building permit or sign permit from the city to do that. That should have been done when whoever did it originally. So that's the issue we have, not with the tobacco license, not with it, that has nothing to do with anything, just to kind of clear it up for
Yeah,
what
I
we're looking
understand.
at.
I have the paper for the permit for the sign, but before I give them the paper, they need the license tax from here. After I have the license tax from here, I can show him the paper for the sign.
Maybe that's a city attorney, I don't know if those correlate
Yeah.
or not, I don't know.
Can you help us with that?
Not really.
That's what they told me. I asked about it.
It sounds to me like he was told at a certain point that he, and I'm not familiar with the application process for the sign permit, and the building official isn't here, but It sounds consistent with other applications that I've seen where basically the city wants proof that, hey, are all your other ducks in a row? Are you a licensed business? So on and so forth. It seems like a reasonable thing to request in connection with the sign permitting. So now that he has acquired that or will soon acquire it, I could see, him having at least commence the sign permitting process, by the next meeting.
Okay, yeah,
And, go ahead.
I think by the process of what I've been hearing is that if we proceed, now that you have your tobacco license, if that was or wasn't needed, you have it, so you can come back to the city and get your permit. And then you come into compliance. So I think that's our goal that we have to set here tonight. Is that correct? Are you?
I do have a question for Tom real quick.
Okay, Mr. Lloyd?
Sir.
He mentioned that the business was opened in May and it was in his father's name. Was there any permit at that time for the sign under the father's name and doing business as?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Joe Damon didn't mention anything to that.
I just find it odd that they would be up and running a business without the proper licenses and so forth.
Well, he has a Hillsborough County, and a lot of their stores have that license through Hillsborough County. They don't realize they need one through Temple Terrace.
Okay.
So I've heard that in the 10 years, I've heard that a lot.
Okay.
So he does have the Hillsborough County license,
Okay.
Temple Terrace.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
I think, are there any more questions? Okay. I have one more. I think we're done with you. So if you want to sit down and then we'll continue on here.
Thank you very much.
What's going to happen is, I'm going to ask Tom another question, and then we're going to do our little thing up here, our little discussion. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Tom,
Yes.
I believe then at this point, what we're looking for is a finding on here, and we're ready to move, right?
Right. He stated that he could, within 20 days,
Right.
he should be able to obtain a permit. I would give him the 30 days that we normally do, and I see that would be, hopefully that will correct the violation.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Okay, board members, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, based
Okay.
on the testimony of interim director Tom Baroni and the store owner presented to the board at this meeting, documentary evidence received by the board, and make a motion that the board find Shah Jahan Properties LLC in case number 17-1137 to be guilty of violating section 12-979 subsection A of the city code, and give the respondents until September 13th to come into compliance with the code section in question. If the property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $25 per day shall begin to accrue on the day following the compliance date and continue to accrue until the date that the violator provides the city with evidence that the property has been brought into compliance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Stats.
That was $25.
$25. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nay. Next case.
Case number 17-1246, City versus Nathan A. and Michelle L. Myers for property located at 121 North Burlingame Avenue. The case is before the board based on the alleged violation of Section 128592 RVs, boats, and trailers. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Interim Director Office Tom Baroni. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Tom Baroni, Code Compliance. This case this evening originated from a neighbor's complaint that I received on June 7, 2017, of a boat stored in the driveway unscreened from view. I continued to monitor the boat for 2 days in the driveway. On June 9, 2017, the boat remained in the driveway unscreened from view. Therefore, I left a door hanger and a reinspection date of June 12, 2017. On my reinspection on the 15th of June, I noted no change, therefore a notice of violation was prepared and hand-delivered with the compliance date of July 3rd, 2017. On the 16th of June, I received a phone call from the boat owner requesting some additional time, which I granted 2 weeks extension. On July 5th of 2017, my inspection noted that the boat was removed from the driveway, therefore putting the property into compliance. During my routine inspections on July 24th, 2017, the boat returned and was being stored in a public street area. After 2 days of observing the boat in the street area, I reopened the previous case. Under the Florida Statute 162, the property must remain in compliance 45 days after the property came into compliance. The boat remained in the street until July 27, 2017, and therefore I requested it to come to the hearing. At this time, I'd like to submit photographic evidence of the violation that was taken by me on July 26th and the 27th, 2017. Exhibit number 1 and 2 shows the boat stored in the street area that I'd like to submit.
Board will accept.
Mr. Chairman, you may need to explain to the previous
I
person.
will. I am going to, after this case.
Okay.
As of July 31st, 2017, the boat has been removed from the street area, putting the property into compliance. At this time, I would like to submit an affidavit of compliance. The city is just looking for a finding.
Board will accept. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
Anybody? Sir?
Has he been sworn in?
Yes.
Your name and address, please?
I'm Nathan Meyer. I'm the owner of the house on 121 Burlingame. The city is looking to determine if there's going to be a fine. Is that the,
It's in compliance, but what we have to do when the case comes before the board has to make a finding. So you're going to be found, well, in all likelihood, you will be found guilty of the citation, of the violation. In all likelihood, there will not be a fine tonight because you are in compliance. But you are aware of your violation, correct? What the violation is and why it is?
I'm, actually, no. So I put the boat, so I forget the dates that he was talking about, but I went on vacation for the first 3 weeks of July. I store the boat at a marina, and I used the boat, and about 2 weeks before my vacation, July 1st, which is the end of June, there was a mechanical problem with the boat. And I could not physically take it from my residence back to the marina because the trailer was broken. I had to redo the brakes. And I had to do it myself. So I called code enforcement at some point during that time and said that we would be here, and I was granted an extension until about sometime end of June before I went on vacation. I went on vacation. I came home on a Sunday night, couldn't return it to the marina for the next 5 days. During that time, I guess just because I'm on somebody's walking route that lives in the neighborhood, the cops were called, and it's a common occurrence for this gentleman to call the police for code enforcement matters. During the week that it was also there, when I got home from vacation, I did also call the office. I spoke with someone, maybe it was Joe, about saying it would be there until I could bring it back to the marina on Saturday morning.
Okay. But being it's in compliance right now, that's a good thing.
I didn't know what this hearing was about. I was just trying to avoid a
Okay.
fine.
Appreciate your coming in, because that's the best way to find out. Okay, Mr. Stats.
Basically, what'll happen is we'll do a finding of guilty or not guilty. And the only thing that we'll do down the road is if it happens again, it'll be treated as a repeat offending case. So the next time it would come before, if you parked it over there over the weekend, then it would be considered a repeat case, just to kind of clarify it for you. Once you're in compliance, though, typically, most people keep it.
So is there ever a situation where I can have the boat in the yard for 3 days?
2 days.
There's no exceptions?
2 days. It,
We'll extend the courtesy. I mean,
It sounds like that the city has been willing to extend every courtesy, and because I'm on a particular gentleman's walking route, it is a very difficult situation for all parties involved, including the police.
yeah, it's, just,
He also came by and asked me to do something different with my trash the other day or something, said it was,
just want to say something. The city code allows residents 48 hours to store the boat on their property, unscreened from view, to clean it, to maintain it, and stuff like that. If it was 3 days, it wouldn't be a problem. So, we're a little flexible with, our inspections, so, okay?
you know, it's not an unusual case either, in
No,
its,
no.
in its being a storage in the front yard, so it's not,
Well, then, in his case, though, parking it in the street area, it's a very narrow block. If you take a look at the photos, you can tell, there's no reflectors on the boat, and it's in. Well, I'm just, from the front looking at it, there's not,
That's also, there are reflectors on it.
so,
All right, so Mr. Meyer, you will have a chance to respond to Mr. Barone on the record after he's finished making a statement.
it is a narrow block, okay, so, and the code is the code, so,
right. I
okay?
agree. Do you have a,
Yeah, no, I just want to
Mr.
clarify
Lloyd.
something that Tom said on the courtesy. It's not an automatic courtesy. We would prefer the resident contact code enforcement if it's going to
Yeah,
exceed
yes, right.
the
2 days?
ordinance.
But by the third day, we'll be issuing a
Right.
door hanger.
Okay.
So then we'll give 2 or 3 more days.
Okay.
So it's not 2 days and,
Yeah.
we're extending it a little bit further than that.
I just didn't want it implied that we automatically
I
extend the
understand.
courtesy. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Myers, you want to follow
Sorry,
up?
wanna just follow up?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Can I get a motion? Anybody?
Motion.
Mr. Lloyd?
Based on the testimony of interim code enforcement director Tom Barone and Mr. Meyer, presented to the board at this hearing and the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Nathan and Michelle Meyer in case number 17-1246 to be guilty of violating section 12-859 subsection 2 of the city code, but because the property was brought into compliance before the date of this hearing, no fine shall be assessed.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Newkirk. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? No.
And then to address Mr. Allen's comment about the first case.
At this point, I want to go back to the first case.
Mr.
Could you come up, please? I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, sorry. What I wanted to do was explain to you that there was a finding, and the finding was that you have 30 days to get your permit and get your sign, everything straight, to come into compliance. And if it's not done within the 30 days, which was the month of September 13th, by the 13th of September, then the fine of $25 per day will go into effect. Will start to accrue,
Okay, that's good.
okay? And you do not have to sit here the rest of the meeting if you don't want to.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move into unfinished business to hear case number 171027, City versus Gisela F. Smith, for property located at 510 Hibiscus Drive. The expiration of compliance is tonight at midnight. And I believe there was someone that wanted to speak on this.
Anyone wishing to speak? Mr. Smith?
He was going first, I'm sorry.
Mr. Smith, I want to thank you for coming into the last meeting. I didn't do it before you left,
Oh,
but,
no problem, sir.
so you name an address and we'll go on and see where you are.
Yes, okay, my name is Larry Smith, and I live at 210 Holland Avenue, and we're referencing 510 Hibiscus. I'm in the unfortunate position of having to ask you all for an extension if possible tonight. I went ahead, as you know, the people that are in the house, they don't want to leave. They have their quote-unquote rights, and they're willing to exercise them as much as possible. Unfortunately, what I did is I went and trying to do an eviction of all 4 of them. I realize that you have a requirement of at least 2 gone in order to meet your requirement. I'd like to beg you all to please let me get rid of all 4 of them. I think it's much better for the community and everyone at large. But anyway, I made a mistake when I made the form letter out, you know, the letter of intent. I only listed 2 of them, and on the other side, I put down above tenants and all others in possession of the premises. Well, when I went to go do the eviction, the actual eviction, the Form 1100, which is the eviction summons, I'm sorry. What happened is they said that the names, I wanted to list all 4 names, and they said, well, you've only got 2 names listed, and that these 2 have got to be the same. So I didn't know that. So what I did is I went back and I reissued another form of a letter of intent, with this, which means 7 days. And then as soon as that expires, then what I'll be able to do is start the summons, the Form 1100, the eviction summons, and get them all out of there at the same time. I've elected not to do an 1102, which is the eviction for past due rent, because I might get unlucky and they might pay me the money, and then I can't get rid of them. So I've elected to forego any rents that are due or anything like that, and this is quite an expensive process. Time you have 4 people served at $40 a pop and $185 here, and this, so I'm trying to get it all done at one time. But unfortunately, I need more time, and I'm sorry to have to ask for that. Any questions? I don't know what else to say.
Any questions? Mr. Shaw?
When do you think you're going to be able to file that 1100?
The 1100 in 7 days.
You're going to file it in 7 days, or you've
Yes.
already filed it
I gave it to them today
today?
because because I'm getting conflicting information. Some people says, well, you could say all others in your things, but then the other lady goes, I had meet another lady, she goes, no, you've got to have all their names, and this has all got to be the same. And I'm just at a point where, yes, ma'am, whatever you say, just let me get through this process.
Right. Okay, I just want to make sure.
I've
that
never
you-
done this before, and I'm learning.
Yeah.
When you talk about other people, who are the people, the tenants that are bringing this to you?
Yes, sir, I didn't know their last names at the time. I knew their first names. So since then, I have their first names, their last names. So what I did is I was trying to be specific and get all 4 of them listed, and that's what I did. But the lady, she says, no, you can't do that because you've got 2 of them listed here, and then and where I was including the others, I said, and I'm reading because I want to be sure I get my wording right, above tenants and all others in possession. I can show you the forms if you'd like. I have them in my notebook and show you what I did. It's just a boo-boo on my part because truly I was ignorant. No other term for it.
Okay.
My fault, gentlemen. I'm sorry. But they're living off of me, and they're not paying any rent, so I'm paying electricity and water, and I want to get rid of them, all of them.
Right.
Plus, there are some social issues that I would rather not have in the neighborhood. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Mr. Stats?
If you had the 2 already filed to evict the first 2 names or whatever you had on the list, if you would have went through with that, you would have been in compliance with the amount of people living in the property. I don't understand why you just didn't and then go and try to evict the other.
Truth of the matter is I'm running short on money, and it's gonna be about $400, $500 as it is right now, and I would have that twice. And I was hoping to get all birds with one stone. If you feel it's necessary, then I'll be glad to go down tomorrow, because I can use the old letter and use their names and do that. But it's $185 plus $40 per person, plus all the, I call the list of people that to serve, and I was just trying to get it all done at one time. Because they are saying to me, each one of them feels that because the city is only wanting to get rid of 2, that they should be the 2 that remain. And I'm like, I don't want any of you to remain, because I can't trust any of them. They're not people that I would associate with, and I don't think they're the people my neighbors want to associate with.
And how
But you
many-
have a point, sir.
How many are there now?
4 I'm trying to get rid of, sir.
Still 4?
Yes, sir. One of them should be leaving soon. The girl, or the woman, I should say, she's on, what's this, methadone? I'm sorry, I'm not a drug person. She's on methadone, and she is gonna, they're gonna make her go in residence, she calls it. But she doesn't have a court date till the 16th of August. So that would get rid of her automatically. But I just want to get rid of all 4 of them, if you don't mind. I mean, I think my neighbors would be real happy if I got rid of all of them.
And you are not collecting rent or anything?
Not for 4 months. I'm paying for the electricity and the water and everything, and they're not my kids. Although they think they are, because these people don't mind asking you for anything. I hate to say that. It's a different generation. If I could get an extension till the next month, I should have them, I will have them all out. Either that or I'll be in jail for kicking them out.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any more? I'm
Mr.
sorry, is there any questions, y'all?
Nope.
No, Mr. Baroni's going to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I just want to maybe add something to this case. Since I took over last Wednesday, I have not received any complaints from none of the neighbors all week. So maybe that'll help you with your decision tonight. I'm not saying that maybe somebody called the police or nobody called code enforcement to make a complaint.
Okay, thank you. Get a motion? Motion to extend? Or to not extend? Can I get a motion?
Sure.
Mr. Allen?
Based on the testimony of, wrong one. Where are we now? Code Compliance Officer and Mr. Tom Baroni, I'm sorry, Interim Director Tom Baroni, and Mr. Smith. Presented to the board at this hearing and the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Gisela F. Smith in case number 17-1027 to be guilty of violating the section 12-191. Just a motion? We don't have to go through the whole thing to do that?
Extend or not.
Okay, good. I make a motion that we extend it to September 13th.
I'll second.
All, second by Mr. Lloyd. All in favor?
Aye. Well, discussion?
Yeah. This case, Jamie came here. Oh, sorry. This case has been going on for quite some time, and I understand he's taken the correct action and all that, but it's a pretty publicized case apparently, and I would say, in my personal opinion, that we denied. I think that they've had time to do it. There was appropriate methods taken to remove 2 of them. He chose to go a different route, which again, I understand in the grand scheme of things, but I would recommend against not extending it.
Any other discussion?
Just to throw, I mean, I know Tom's been pulling dual duty, but the fact that there hasn't been, in his opinion, any complaints over the past week, it's been highly publicized. I'm hoping that, given the circumstances that he doesn't live there, he's basically taking care of this for the person that's on the property. Yes, he's part owner, but he's taking the right steps, given to the financial situation, that's, I don't want to put somebody over the barrel because they have to file twice, and that's the reason that I seconded the motion there, is because it seems like he's put in good faith. It seems like the situation has been curbed, at least for a week, from the neighbors complaining. So that's just to go against what Mr. Stats said there.
Any other comment? Can I take a vote?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 nay.
If I may, can I say one thing? Mr. Smith, I would just, given Mr. Stats' comments, I would definitely, if you get them out before the 13th, please notify Tom. It'll go a long way in showing good faith to the neighbors.
I didn't realize the meeting, I'm supposed to step aside.
Yes, please come up.
I didn't realize somebody put their foot there. I didn't realize the meeting was on the 13th, and I will not be even in the state at that time. When I get compliance, can I tell him, and then do I have to
Please.
show? No. Because this has been planned for quite a while. So
But please
so
let
I can let
Mr.
him know, and then I don't have to be here.
That's kind of what I was saying. I'm hoping it's not going to take you to the 13th, given
Sir,
you said you filed it today.
I'm gonna do the best to get them
So-
all out of there. I'll try to see if I can maybe follow your route. It's just that I'm short of money, I'll be truthful with you. I'm pulling the house out of the mortgage and everything, so.
The same goal here. I mean, it's just-
Yeah, to be truthful, I just stepped into this about 2 months ago. But I understand what you're saying. You have a very valid point, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go back to the regular hearings agenda. Case number 171371, the City versus Psalms 138 LLC, Eileen B. Alvear, registered agent for property located at 10307 Council's Way. The case is before the board based on alleged violations of Section 810213C, roofs maintained in good repair, and Section 810213B, exterior walls maintained in good repair. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Interim Director Tom Baroni. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Good evening, Tom Baroni, Code Compliance. This case this evening originated proactively on June 23rd, 2017. My inspection revealed a tarp placed on the front and back of the townhome area and the front porch ceiling that had a 2x2 hole in the ceiling. At that time, I left a door hanger with the compliance date of July 6th, 2017. My inspection on the 10th of July noted no change. Therefore, a notice of violation was prepared with the compliance date of July 24th, 2017. Since the property appeared vacant, I posted the notice at the front door and requested copies be sent certified in first-class mail. I also requested a copy be posted at City Hall for the 10-day requirement. My compliance inspection noted no change. At this time, I would like to submit photographic evidence of the 2 violations that were taken by me on July 26, 2017.
Board will accept.
As of July 31st, the roof shingles have been replaced. That they got a permit to change out the shingles. And the ceiling in the front porch area has been replaced. So therefore, the property is in compliance, and I'd like to submit an affidavit of compliance. And the city is just looking for a finding.
Board will accept. Any questions?
No, I do have one quick question. Do we know if
Mr.
it's a,
Lowe.
do we know if it's a rental property?
It is a rental property, I believe.
Okay.
Any other questions? A motion?
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
No.
Motion, okay.
Go
Based on the testimony of interim director, code compliance director, Tom Barone.
Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. Based on the testimony of interim director Tom Barone presented to the board at this hearing, the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Psalm 138 LLC Eileen B. Alviar registered agent to be guilty of violating the section 8-102 subsection 13C and 8-102 subsection 13B. And give the respondents, well, I guess they're in compliance, since they're in compliance with the code in question, that the property is, no fine shall be assessed and not be able to accrue and continue to accrue as well, since there's not one being there.
Do we have a
I
second?
guess we need an additional form.
It's the one down below.
Oh, crap.
Just need, all I can say, I think you need to add the case number to it.
Case number 17-1371.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
Next
that
case.
was a guilty, no fine, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The next case is case number 171378, the city versus Natalie Anderson for property located at 105 Deer Park Avenue. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of section 12508, accessory structures uses. The case will be prosecuted this evening by interim director Tom Barone. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Good evening, Tom Barone, Code Compliance. This case was first brought to our attention on May 8, 2017, by a citizen complaint of a pod stored in the front yard. Mr. Damian monitored the case and on June 28th noted no change. A notice of violation was prepared on that date with a compliance date of July 21st, 2017. Mr. Damian posted the notice at the home and mailed copies, both certified and regular mail, to the property owner's address. He also requested the notice be posted at City Hall for the required length of time. My inspection on August 3rd, 2017 revealed no change. Mr. Damian and I went out to the properties, and I did observe the pod being stored in the front yard as well. At this time, I would like to submit photographic evidence of the violation taken by Mr. Damian on July 28th, 2017. The photo depicts the pod stored in the front yard.
Board will accept.
Today's inspection revealed no change, and therefore the property remains out of compliance. The owner's son is here, Vinny Hernandez, and he'd like to speak on this, on his behalf.
Any questions of Mr. Barone? Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
I just need to swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony or evidence you're about to give or present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Name and address, please.
Vincent Hernandez, 105 Deer Park. Okay, am I, because I'm not familiar with all the terms on the paper and everything else, so I'm not understanding everything on it. So am I to understand that the only issue is the pod? I've come in compliance with the lawn and everything else. Am I to understand that the pod is the only issue right now at this point?
The pod is the issue, yes.
Okay. That's
You
what-
still have a running fine on the property, though. Besides this, you have a running fine.
My neighbor's tree trunk,
Yes, it's on your property.
which I don't see how I'm responsible for it, just because nature had directed it to fall on my property, which constantly does that. He's an elderly man. I never bothered him before. I've had plenty of damages to things because of it, but So, I mean, I've even cut his grass, I've done everything, I don't want to bother the guy, you know. He no longer lives there, and no one lives there. So anything that happens on that and falls on my property now, I'm responsible for, and I'm getting fined daily on something that's not even mine.
Okay.
That's one thing.
Let me just make a comment on that. Is it by the street?
No, it's in the way, it's way back at the property line of his niece who's taking care of the house now, and myself.
Is it accessible by a vehicle?
No. It's a big, heavy branch. I don't have tree equipment or anything like that. I'm sorry, yeah, I'm talking about the branch.
Yeah, we're only
I guess
talking
we'll
about
get to the pod.
Right, well, I'm just trying to help out,
Yeah,
because he is being fined by it, so.
right. I'm
But
being
anyway,
fined for a tree trunk that is not mine daily because it hasn't been taken care of, and it's not in the way of anything. It's not, it's in the back of the property,
okay.
all the way in around, maybe I would say 20 feet into the property, because I'm on a corner lot, and in the back of the fence.
But we can't do anything about that tonight,
Well,
other than hope that you can get it taken out of there.
I understand, but do the fees have to continue on? I mean, obviously, the fees are there, they have to be paid.
It has,
I think it's a lucrative amount. I think that's, you know, if that's what I have to pay, that's what I have to pay. I don't feel they should continue to pay. I feel I have to get rid of it, but to keep
Well-
escalating, you know, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
all we can do about that is to say that the fine will accrue until it comes into compliance. And that's all we can do as a board.
Mhm.
And so I guess the best thing you can do on that is get rid of it somehow. But we're here to deal with the pod tonight.
Okay. The pod is scheduled for, I believe it's the 15th, 14th or the 15th to be picked up. I did not have the funds for them to pick up the thing, as well as I had cabinets that I couldn't store, doing renovations and different things that I have to get done, floor cabinets, granite, stuff like that. And there's no room to do anything in the house. So, I mean, I'd had to store it somewhere. Unfortunately, before I would premature got the pod, but I had an unexpected vacation to family members that I had to go away for 15 days. So I lost some of my work time, because I do this for a living, but it's kind of difficult to do in your own home. And I have not been able to complete everything, so I did not have enough time because of that reason.
So
I
do
do
you-
have it scheduled to be, they couldn't come this week. I do have it scheduled to come as either Monday or Tuesday, the 14th or the 15th.
Okay. So you
be
feel that
removed.
you can have it out of there in a relatively
Sure,
short
I mean,
time?
in other cases, we have pods for tools and materials that on job sites, multiple apartments that we have to store 10, 20 kitchens inside there. It's never only 30 days. I mean, a lot of type of construction seems to be, dragging, and because of inspections and this and that and the other things. 30 days is a short amount of time, even though they were generous enough to give me more time on it, and since then I have not done so. But because of situations, I wasn't able to. But I have scheduled for it to be removed. And I don't understand why I had a complaint in the first place. It's kind of covered by a big tree. I don't understand why, I'm not the only one. I mean, I see boats, I see RVs in yards all around my neighborhood, and unkept properties that's been there since I bought the property 13 years ago. And it just seems like it's always, anything that I'm doing, it seems to be that it's a violation, and I understand that, but it should be applied to everybody in the community. That's all I'm saying.
So on your, I feel for you, but the 14th is 14th of August?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? You have anything else you want to say? Otherwise, we-
Excuse my attire, I came right from work.
Okay. You got a job, that's good.
Fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I get a motion? Okay, Mr. Lloyd.
Based on the testimony of Interim Code Enforcement Director Tom Barone and Mr. Hernandez presented to the board at this hearing, and documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Natalie Anderson in case number 17-1378 to be guilty of violating section 12-508 of the city code and give the respondents until September 13th to come into compliance with the code sections in question. If the property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $25 per day shall begin to accrue on the date following, beginning on September 14th, and continue to accrue until the date the violator provides the city with evidence that the property has been brought into compliance.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Newkirk. Discussion?
Do you think we should shorten the time frame? He said he only needs till 14th, 15th. I mean,
That was the hesitation in my presenting it there, but given the circumstances, I'm hoping that it's done, we get a compliance on the 13th. I'm feeling gracious tonight, I guess.
Well, that's-
No, I
it's
mean-
normal, on these things, we give them to the next meeting, so. Seems like-
It has, to your point, it's been since May,
Yeah.
so it's gone on for a while.
well, the only reason why I brought it up is because he mentioned that they're scheduled to pick it up,
Yeah,
so.
I just
Just a
give it, I don't want to bind him in if the weather holds him up. The guy's coming to pick it up, something happens with that. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But I do agree that that's a consideration, definitely.
Any other questions, comments? Vote on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All.
Case number 17,
Sorry.
Are you
Sir?
good?
Did you know? You all set?
You're good? Thank you. All right.
Case number 171468, the city versus Paul and Cheryl M. Tomasino for property located at 234 Bullard Parkway. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of section 10.3B sanitation grass weeds. The case will be prosecuted this evening by interim director Tom Barone. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Tom Barone, Code Compliance. This case this evening originated proactively on June 29th, 2017. When I noted overgrown weeds in a vacant lot, I placed a call over to Mrs. Tomasino to advise her of the violation. While driving by on July 11th, 2017, I noted no change to the property. Therefore, a notice of violation was prepared on the 12th of July with a compliance date of July 19th, 2017. Later that day, I received a phone call from Mrs. Tomasino stating that she had received the notice of violation. On my inspection on the 20th of July, I noted that the perimeter of the vacant lot was mowed, but still over 90% of the property still remained out of compliance. At this time, I would like to submit photographic evidence that was taken by me. Exhibit number 1 was taken on July 12th, noting the overgrown weeds. And exhibit number 2 shows the photo was taken by me on July 20th, which shows the edging of the lot mowed, but still remained out of compliance. I'd like to submit.
Board will accept.
An inspection on July 31st, 2017 noted that the vacant lot had been mowed, therefore the property is now in compliance. The city is just looking for a finding, and I'd like to submit an affidavit of compliance.
Board will accept.
I'm not sure why the perimeter was only mowed, but we have compliance, so.
That's good.
Right.
Are there any questions for Mr. Barone?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are any others wishing to speak on that? No? Okay. I would like to have a motion.
Since I found the form, I'll be Based on the testimony of Interim Director Tom Barone, presenting the case presented to the board at the hearing and the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Paul and Cheryl M. Tomasino in case number 17-1468 to be guilty of violating section flip it over, 10-3B of the city code, but because the property was brought into compliance before the date of this hearing, no fine shall be assessed.
Do you have a second? Mr. Snelling, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
So now we have the rest of unfinished business. Case number 170773, City versus Ivan Baby and Sally Joseph for property located at 7523 Terrace River Drive. An affidavit of noncompliance for Section 810213B was submitted by Interim Director Brony, dated July 13th. Case number 170813, City versus Robert M. and Deborah A. Schaller for property located at 339 Glen Oaks Avenue. An affidavit of compliance for Section 828A1 was submitted by Officer Scrozo, dated July 13th. Case number 170846, City versus Wells Fargo Bank National Association Trustee, CO Shapiro Fishman and Gash LLP for property located at 10310 Council's Way. An affidavit of noncompliance for Section 810213C was submitted by Office Interim Director Brony, dated July 13th, 2017. Case number 170869, City versus NCRC Housing Rehab Fund, LLC for property located at 5205 East 131st Avenue. An affidavit of noncompliance for that section was submitted by Officer Brony, dated July 13th, 2017. Case number 171199, City versus Scott W. Waters for property located at 9301 Rolling Ridge Place. An affidavit of compliance for Section 1034 was submitted by Officer Barone, dated August 7th, 2017. Case number 171243, City versus Betty J. Owens for property located at 505 Brentwood Drive. The expiration of compliance is tonight at midnight. And I have cases not on the agenda. An affidavit of compliance dated August 4th was submitted for case number 161433, City versus Scott W. Waters. And on that same date, for case number 162328, both for Scott Waters. One was for Section 12861B7, and the other case was for 1290013. And then a third affidavit of compliance for that property was submitted on August 2nd, dated August 2nd, and that was for Section 12901. So that's all of the cases for that property are in compliance.
Thank you.
I'd just like to give you an update on that property, 9301 Rolling Ridge. Approximately about 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a contractor. Scott Waters hired him, and he wants to bring the property into compliance. Knowing that that's a property, a very sensitive property to the neighbors and to myself, I was doing a headstand when he, so the first thing they took care of was the pool. They discharged all the unclean water, and then they power washed it, got the pool up and running. They put a new fence halfway around the perimeter of the rear yard with a permit. The concrete in the side yard was removed. So within 3 weeks, they brought that property into compliance, and it's quite a difference. So I commended them, and so that's why you received all the affidavits of compliance. The other property that I just wanted to touch on was Council Way, 10310. That was a soffit that was damaged, and the respondent that showed up at the hearing said they had to do the eviction first before they, well, today when I drove by, all the blinds to the townhome were up to the ceiling area. So that's a good sign. I'm sure the eviction took place and the tenants are out. So I'm hoping that within the next 30 days or so, that townhome will be repaired. So we're moving forward. And just one other thing I noticed in the crowd, this is Steve Buckman. He's a gentleman that I interviewed last week to bring on board as a code compliance inspector. So I'm attempting to, I'd like him to start tomorrow, but we still have another few more days before the process begins. So hopefully by next month's code board hearing, Steve will be up here testifying to some of these violations, so.
Baptism by fire, right?
Yeah. So Steve is a retired law enforcement from Lakeland, and I also have another candidate that's coming on board. He's going through the process of the medical and the background check. So just wanted to update the board. And I also want to just thank everybody for, you show up every month and do your job, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
That wouldn't have been so nice tonight if I'd known we had a prospect in the county.
Being we have no lien considerations or lien reduction, I don't know of any other new business. Do you have some new business?
No, I got a motion to make.
There being no new business, can I have a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Mr. Newkirk. All in favor?
Aye.